No steel, no machinery, no modern tools. And yet, amidst the tropical forests of Cambodia, a colossal stone structure still stands firm throughout nearly a millennium, perfect to the point of seemingly defying the laws of physics. Angkor Wat. The temple not only is the pride of the Khmer people, but also one of the greatest mysteries of human civilization. Scholars call this the pinnacle of religious architecture, but modern scientists call it the paradox of history. For each stone block here fits together with an error of less than 0.2 millimeters, oriented with near absolute precision along the western celestial axis, and possesses a symmetrical structure that modern machinery would still take years to simulate. How? In the 12th century, when Europe was still sunk in the Middle Ages, could the Khmer people erect a structure with precision equivalent to space technology? The answer, perhaps, is still hidden somewhere amid those stone corridors, where the dawn light shines through each temple tower precise to the second in the sun's cycle. Angkor Wat was built in the early 12th century under the reign of King Suryavarman II, the most powerful emperor of the Khmer Empire. According to estimates by archaeologists, this structure spans an area of more than 400 acres, containing millions of sandstone blocks, each weighing from 2 to 5 tons. Ancient records state that it took more than 30 years to complete, with over 300,000 workers and 6,000 elephants participating. But there is one strange thing: there is no document that precisely describes how they erected the temple. No drawings, no designs, no traces of scaffolding, cranes, or quarries large enough in the area. The origin of the sandstone is also a mystery. Geological analysis shows that most of the stone was quarried from Mount Phnom Kulen, more than 40 kilometers from Angkor, through dense forests, swamps, and the Siem Reap River. Transporting hundreds of thousands of such heavy stone blocks by hand over treacherous terrain is something nearly impossible. Yet, those stone blocks are still here, stacked perfectly, as if cast from a single mold. Even stranger, when viewed from above, the entire temple complex resembles a gigantic geometric drawing, symmetrical, precise, and with proportions perfect to the point of disbelief. The main axis aligns straight with the points of sunrise and sunset on the spring and autumn equinoxes. The central tower of Angkor Wat is nearly 65 meters high, representing the peak of Mount Meru, the mythical mountain considered the axis of the universe in Hindu culture. But could religious faith alone suffice to explain that absolute sophistication? Or behind these stone blocks, does there still exist a knowledge far beyond the understanding of medieval humanity? If you stand before Angkor Wat at dawn, when the first sunlight touches the central tower, you will notice something strange. The light does not shine randomly. It passes through the main corridor, pierces the temple gate, and stops precisely at the center of the Vishnu shrine. Deviation? Less than half a degree? A random coincidence? Or the result of a sophisticated calculation that modern humans still cannot fully understand? Archaeologists once believed that the ancient Khmer relied only on experience and naked eye observation. But modern laser scanning measurements tell a different story. The entire Angkor Wat structure adheres to a complex geometric grid, where every angle, every axis, every step is positioned precisely to the centimeter. When engineers simulate the model again using 3D design software, they are astonished to realize that the overall deviation of the entire temple complex, spanning hundreds of meters, falls within a range of just a few millimeters. The geometric proportions here seem not to follow intuition. Mathematicians have discovered that the length, width, and height of the temple complex all follow the Fibonacci sequence, the series of numbers that create the golden ratio which modern humans regard as the standard of natural beauty. The length of the temple's main axis compared to the width creates a ratio nearly matching the number phi 1.618, even though the ancient Khmer had no concept of this mathematics. Even when bisecting the temple's floor plan with a laser, the two halves are nearly perfectly identical, something that even modern architects rarely achieve in actual constructions. That precision lies not only in the large scale but also in the small details. The carvings on the stone walls still retain their depth, flatness, and symmetry after nearly 900 years. Despite time, weather, earthquakes, and ground subsidence, no signs of deviation, cracking, or collapse. That structure, as if programmed to self-balance with nature. Yet, the mystery does not stop there. Sandstone, the main material of Angkor, has hardness equivalent to granite, while the Khmer tools were only made of soft iron. So how did they cut, grind, and assemble these multi-ton stone blocks? When researchers examine the surfaces with electron microscopes, they discover extremely small parallel striations, uniform as if created by acoustic vibration. No saw marks, no chisel marks, no signs of natural stone splitting. That leads to a bold hypothesis: the ancient Khmer may have used acoustic vibration to cut and move the stones, similar to the principle of sonic levitation that quantum physics laboratories are experimenting with in the 21st century. if true. Angkor Wat is not just a temple to Vishnu, but also a gigantic mechanical structure, where each stone block is designed to self-lock with others through resonant frequencies. When under pressure, the stone blocks do not break, but distribute the force throughout the system, a principle that modern engineers call metastructure, a type of self-stabilizing structure capable of countering vibrations by resonating inversely to the source. It is hard to believe, because this concept was only formally defined in 2016, yet the ancient Khmer applied it nearly 9 centuries ago, not with machinery, not with synthetic materials, only with stone and intellect. How could they know things that science took nearly a millennium to describe with formulas? And if they truly understood material resonance mechanisms at that level, then the more terrifying question is, where did they learn it from? In 2024, a research team from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, in collaboration with the University of Tokyo, conducted a full scan of the Angkor Wat complex using 3D LiDAR technology and AI for spatial geometric analysis. The data obtained stunned both archaeologists and engineers. When simulating the elevation map and overall layout, they discovered that the entire temple complex was not built randomly, but is a precise three-dimensional mathematical system down to the thousandth of a millimeter. The numbers show that the towers, corridors, water channels, and main courtyards form a gigantic energy grid, with axes intersecting exactly at the position of the 5 central towers. The strange thing is that those axes match perfectly with the positions of the most important constellations in ancient astronomy: Orion, Cygnus, and Draco. When projecting sunlight and moonlight onto the simulation map, the researchers realized that on special days of the year, spring equinox, autumn equinox, and summer solstice, the rays shine precisely through the windows of each tower, reflecting onto the stone walls at the exact position of the carved image of Vishnu. The error is only about 0.15 degrees, precision that modern laser telescopes can achieve. Not only that, AI also detected patterns of cyclic energy oscillations running along the water channel system surrounding the temple. The water flow is not just for decoration or irrigation, but functions as an energy conduit, helping to maintain the foundation's stability over centuries. In physical models, water reflects seismic waves and reduces ground vibrations, exactly like the liquid dampers techniques designed today. But at Angkor Wat, the Khmer applied that principle from the 12th century, without any drawings or measuring devices. Another detail that confounds the scientific community: the largest stone blocks in the temple all carry resonant oscillation patterns matching the Earth's Schumann frequency, 783 Hz, meaning when there is geological vibration, the entire Angkor structure will oscillate in rhythm with the planet, neutralizing most of the vibrational energy, a structure tuned to synchronize with nature, something that quantum engineering today is just beginning to simulate in the field of smart materials. When the MIT team inputted all the 3D data into a quantum AI system, the algorithm detected a form of multi-layered symmetry, fractal symmetry among the towers, similar to modern CAD design models. Each stone block seems not just placed next to each other, but also programmed to interact, share forces, and energy. That is no longer architecture, but a form of integrated mechanics. All those things forced the scientific community to pose the question: could Angkor Wat have been built based on a physical principle that modern humanity is only beginning to discover? An ancient structure capable of calculating resonance, balancing oscillations, and orienting astronomy with precision beyond explanation. Could it possibly be just the result of manual labor? If not, then perhaps Angkor Wat is not just the temple of the Khmer people. It is an ancient machine, where architecture, astronomy, hydraulics, and energy are fused into one, operating according to cosmic laws that we still do not fully understand. The deeper one goes into the center of Angkor Wat, the more one feels like stepping amid a gigantic star map. From the air, the entire temple complex appears as a constellation carved onto the earth, where each tower is a star, each channel is a celestial orbit, and each main corridor is the path of light movement, with data obtained from LiDAR. Astronomers have overlaid the 12th century sky map onto the Angkor Wat diagram, and the result left them stunned. The 4 towers surrounding the central temple match perfectly with the 4 brightest stars of the Cygnus constellation, while the central tower corresponds to Deneb, the star ancient people viewed as the eye of the sky. When simulating stellar movement, they found that on the spring equinox of 1150, the light of Deneb shone straight through the temple's main axis, reflected on the surrounding moat water, then converged at the central courtyard, creating a light interference phenomenon that lasts less than 2 minutes each year. The precision of this phenomenon is estimated with an error of less than 0.005 degrees, meaning the ancient Khmer calculated celestial orbits with smaller errors than Galileo's telescopes. But what shakes the research community is not just the stellar orientation. The ratios of distances between the towers, when converted to logarithmic scale, match exactly the average distances between planets in the solar system, from the central tower to the west gate, from the west gate to the surrounding channel. The numbers repeat according to the 1:2.6 ratio, exactly the orbital ratio of Earth and Venus. Could this be random? Or was Angkor Wat erected as a miniature model of the universe, where the god Vishnu resides at the center, and the planets revolve in perfect harmony? Another hypothesis suggests that the entire Angkor Wat functions as a gigantic astronomical clock. The steps, corridors, and windows are not just passages, but tools for measuring time and stellar positions. Each time light shines through the door slits at certain moments, it marks the cycles of the sun, moon, and Venus, three factors governing the ancient Khmer calendar. Under this perspective, Angkor is not just a temple to the gods, but a precise astronomical observatory, where humans communicate with the movements of the universe. Astrophysicists have also discovered that the height of the central tower is equivalent to a 143,000 Talon ratio, compared to the distance from Earth to the Sun, a suspiciously coincidental number. When examining the carvings in the shrine, they found repeating spiral patterns, ancient symbols simulating the torus energy model, i.e., the shape of the magnetic field around Earth. For those who believe in cosmic energy resonance, Angkor Wat may not just be a temple, but a machine for tuning Earth's frequencies, operating through the planet's natural magnetic oscillations. The ancient Khmer monks believed that the human soul is connected to the breath of the universe. They called Angkor Wat the place where heaven and earth meet, and ancient stone inscriptions mention the concept of Khmer Kandal, center of all spatial layers. Perhaps that is why, when standing in the main square, one feels everything around: light, wind, the echo of footsteps, all harmonizing in an invisible rhythm, as if the entire structure is breathing. When the sunset light falls, the stone walls reflect a fiery red onto the sky, and in that moment, one understands why Angkor Wat is called the City of the Stars, not just because it orients towards celestial bodies, but because, perhaps, it was created to converse with the stars. When astronomical and physical models are no longer sufficient to explain Angkor Wat, some researchers are forced to turn their gaze upward to the stars that this structure seems created to dialogue with. For the more one analyzes, the more one sees traces of knowledge beyond the limits of the era. Not just Angkor Wat alone, but a series of ancient structures around the world, from the Giza pyramids to the Pumapunku temple in Bolivia, all share the same geometric code, the same structural philosophy, and even the same astronomical ratios. How could civilizations separated by thousands of years, with no trade, all understand the universe in the same language? A bold hypothesis has emerged. Perhaps those knowledges were not invented, but passed down. The Khmer, like the Egyptians or Incas, may have only been inheritors of a vanished civilization, a civilization scholars call the first architects. The first architects, if that is true, Angkor Wat is not a starting point, but a link in the global ancient architectural network, spanning along energy points, positions where Earth's magnetic field is stronger than normal. AI analysis of data from more than 20 ancient structures shows something irrational. They lie almost precisely on the same geomagnetic energy belt, stretching from Egypt through India, Cambodia, to Peru. When connecting these points on the map, one obtains a gigantic spiral encircling the planet, simulating exactly the model of Earth's magnetic field. Could this be just random coincidence, or traces of a purposeful architectural system designed to maintain global energy balance? Some researchers go further, suggesting that Angkor Wat could be an ancient energy transmission station where vibrations from stone, water, and light are resonated to create stable energy waves. Some even link the shape of the temple's central tower to the torus structure, the self-sustaining energy form often seen in plasma physics and in 21st century spacecraft designs. If true, then Angkor Wat is not just a place for humans to worship gods. It is a gigantic ancient device, designed to communicate with the universe, or with those who once came from there. Perhaps that is why in Khmer legends, people still say that Angkor Wat was not built by human hands, but by the heavens. And perhaps they are not entirely wrong. When looking at the historical flow of the Khmer Empire, one notices something abnormal to the point of chilling. There is no technical evolutionary curve leading to Angkor Wat before it. Khmer structures were only small temples, built with baked bricks, thin walls, crude techniques. After it, subsequent dynasties never recreated equivalent complexity. The appearance of Angkor Wat is like a flash of knowledge, bursting brightly amid the darkness, then abruptly extinguishing. A leap with no starting point, nor any continuation. All that remains is a structure that even the Khmer descendants centuries later could not explain. Ancient texts record that the temple was built according to the guidance of the gods, but modern historians find no evidence of gradual progress in construction techniques, design, or mathematics. No technical schools, no measurement traditions, no astronomical tools found, only a perfect structure appearing as if from nothingness, then pulling an entire empire into decline. Some scholars call this the Angkor paradox, the phenomenon where technological level reaches its peak, yet the civilization enters a phase of regression, as if the Khmer had used up all the knowledge they were ever granted to erect a single structure, and when completed, that knowledge vanished with time. Perhaps Angkor Wat is not just a temple, but the last relic of an era erased from history. And perhaps it never truly belonged to us. The 21st century brings humanity the most powerful tools in history, but when directing them toward Angkor Wat, what they find is not answers, but more mysteries. In 2025, the Angkor Quantum Geometry Project gathers scientists from MIT, NASA, and the University of Tokyo to simulate how the temple was built. They use deep learning AI to analyze billions of physical models, but every result shows this structure could not exist if based only on gravity or friction. The algorithms indicate that Angkor Wat operates on a different principle, self-adjusting resonant oscillation. The stone blocks do not simply stand still, they micro-oscillate, dispersing vibrational forces and maintaining equilibrium. When the NASA team measured the magnetic field around the temple complex, they detected extremely low electromagnetic oscillations matching the Earth's Schumann frequency, 7.83 Hz. In other words, Angkor breathes with the planet, harmonizing with the Earth's natural frequency. AI analysis shows each tower functions as a separate resonator, while the entire complex forms an energy vortex wave system, similar to the torus model in plasma physics. The data also reveals that the surrounding water channel network acts as an energy conduit, reducing shocks and stabilizing the foundation, a principle only rediscovered in modern earthquake-resistant engineering. When synthesizing all the data, the research team must admit Angkor Wat is not just architecture, but a living body of stone, knowing how to balance, adapt, and possibly still operating after nearly a millennium. Is this the legacy of an ancient knowledge that has vanished, or evidence that humanity once understood the universe more deeply than we imagine? 9 centuries have passed, but Angkor Wat still stands there, silently, majestically, like a question that has never been answered. All the modern technologies, AI simulations, laser measurements only help us see one more thing: this structure was not built just to exist, but to remind. To remind that there was once a time when humans understood how to merge with the laws of heaven and earth, instead of opposing them. A time when science, religion, and nature did not conflict, but blended in the same language, the language of balance. Angkor Wat may be the masterpiece of the Khmer people. It may also be the trace of a vanished civilization, or even a message from an intelligence beyond Earth. But whoever's words, they are. That message still echoes through hundreds of years. Everything in the universe has a rhythm. Listen, and you will understand. And what about you? Do you believe that Angkor Wat is only the achievement of human hands, or evidence that humanity once touched a knowledge that we ourselves today have forgotten? Let us know in the comments below.